Shalom, shalom, and thank you for being here. I am especially grateful for those of you who are listening on one of the podcast versions. Those of you who are here live are important too, but those of you who are listening on the podcast versions from near and far, it's gratifying to have all of you with us. So I want to continue a topic that I started today at noon. We were talking about chapter 3 of Pirkei Avot, and I didn't get to a section that I wanted to cover. It is in chapter 3, verse 22. In some editions, it's numbered slightly different, but in every edition, it's in chapter 3. And there it asks the question, what is better, wisdom or deeds? Which is the better path to take, wisdom or deeds? Now, on the face of it, of course, you probably would say, well, what does it matter? I mean, actually, we should have a little bit of wisdom and a lot of deeds, or we should have a lot of wisdom and some deeds. I mean, we should have a combination of both. But it's asking this question because it wants us to consider what's really important in life, and it wants us to make some value judgments, make some thoughts about what priorities we should set in life. We all know that wisdom, having wisdom, gaining knowledge, is very valued in our Jewish tradition. It is seen as almost a primary tool. And in this same chapter of chapter 3, when we were talking about it, some of the things earlier today, we talked about Torah and acquiring Torah and having Torah as part of our lives, and Torah can lift us up. But if it's only Torah, that's the question. I mean, if all we are doing is studying all day, all we are doing is trying to acquire knowledge, is that enough? And so there's a teaching here, and it is quoted in the name of Eliezer ben Azariah, one of the great rabbis of the Talmud, and he talks about, in this little section, he talks about that if you're learning Torah, you should have some kind of worldly occupation. That from his point of view, having something you do in the world besides just studying is very important. It's primary, and he explains that without being in the world, of course, Torah can be meaningless. And then he asks the question, he says, what's it like when your wisdom exceeds one good deeds? What kind of person is that? How can you... The person who has so much knowledge, they've gained so much knowledge, but they don't do a lot. They don't know. And he says, what do we compare them to? He says, that's like a tree that has a lot of branches, but not very many roots. And when the wind blows, that tree has a danger of falling right over. That tree is not deeply rooted. It's got a lot of branches. It's a lot of wisdom in the mind, but without the deeds, it falls right over. Then he takes the opposite case. What if a person has a lot of deeds, more deeds than wisdom? What is that compared to? What kind of tree is that? And he says, that is a tree that has a lot of roots. All the winds in the world can blow on that tree, and it will not have any effect on it. In fact, a tree with many roots will be fed by nearby streams, will be fed much and will be stronger. So he says the deeds that we do, the mitzvot, the good deeds that we do, make us stronger. Yes, we need branches too. Yes, we need wisdom too. But in order to sustain ourselves, to keep ourselves strong, the way he puts it is to weather the scorching heat and to have luxurious foliage. That tree that is strengthened by deeds and deep roots, it will have no concern in a year of drought, and it will not cease to yield fruit. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is urging us to consider that Torah, acquiring Torah, being part of the body of Torah, is also asking us to do good deeds, to do things in the world that make a difference. I think it's a beautiful teaching. I think it's an application we should explain to everyone and about how Judaism values not only learning, but teaching, and that makes us, but deeds, and that makes us strong and able to weather the future. Go out and do a mitzvah. Go out and do a good deed today. As we now turn to the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabam. B'yalma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. B'hagalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabam v'varach l'olam li'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitboar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu l'yela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Have a great day today, friends, and a great week ahead.